For most of human history, the greatest killers weren't armies or empires. They were invisible. A simple scratch from a rose thorn could lead to a raging, fatal infection. Childbirth was a deadly gamble for mothers, with mysterious puerperal fevers sweeping through maternity wards. Surgeons, hailed as saviors, were often unwitting carriers of death, moving from one patient to the next with unwashed hands and instruments. Humanity was defenseless against an enemy it couldn't see, an enemy it didn't even know existed. This is the story of one man, a chemist, who declared war on these invisible monsters. In the mid-19th century, the dominant theory of disease was a ghost story. Sickness, doctors believed, was caused by miasma, a mysterious bad air that rose from swamps and decaying matter. Hospitals were designed with tall windows and airy corridors, not to be clean, but to disperse this invisible vapor. Surgeons wore their blood-stained frock coats as a badge of honor, a sign of their experience. The idea of washing hands between patients was considered a waste of time. In maternity wards, it was common for doctors to move directly from performing an autopsy on a corpse to delivering a baby, unknowingly spreading deadly bacteria. This was the world before the code, a world of profound and lethal ignorance. Into this world of scientific superstition stepped Louis Pasteur. He was not a doctor, he was a chemist, a meticulous and brilliant mind obsessed with the world of crystals and fermentation. His journey began not in a hospital, but in the vineyards of France, where the wine industry was facing a catastrophic crisis of spoilage. He was hired to solve a simple economic problem. Why was the wine going sour? With his microscope, Pasteur entered a new universe. He discovered that the process of fermentation, the magic that turned grape juice into wine, was not a simple chemical reaction. It was the work of a living organism, yeast. And more importantly, he found that when the wine went sour, it was because another, different microbe had invaded and corrupted the batch. This was the first clue, the first sighting of the enemy on the invisible battlefield. There were good microbes and there were bad microbes. They were alive, they were everywhere, and they were the cause of change. This led him to his most famous and elegant experiment, the one that would shatter the ancient theory of spontaneous generation. For centuries, people believed that life could simply erupt from nothing, that maggots were born from dead meat, that microbes appeared spontaneously in broth. Pasteur put this to the test. He boiled broth in a special swan-neck flask, killing any microbes inside. The unique shape of the flask allowed air to enter, but trapped dust and microbes in its long, curved neck. The broth remained sterile, perfectly clear, for years. But the moment Pasteur broke the neck of the flask, allowing the dust and air to rush in, the broth quickly turned cloudy, teeming with microbial life. The proof was undeniable. Life did not come from nothing. It came from other life. The monsters were real, and they traveled through the air. This was the foundation of his revolutionary code, the germ theory of disease, the idea that specific living microorganisms were the cause of specific communicable diseases. The medical establishment was outraged. They mocked him, a mere chemist, for meddling in their profession. But Pasteur was not just a brilliant scientist, he was a fierce and relentless fighter in a debate. He did not shy away from conflict. He publicly challenged his critics, using logic and the irrefutable evidence of his experiments as his weapons. He was known for his combative personality and his absolute, unshakable confidence in his findings. For him, this was not a matter of opinion. It was a battle for truth against centuries of dogma, and he was determined to win. His first battle was a commercial one. He invented a simple process of gentle heating, what we now call pasteurization, to kill the harmful microbes in wine and beer without destroying their flavor. The method was a triumph, saving the French beverage industry. He then used the same principles to solve a devastating disease in silkworms, saving the silk industry as well. But his greatest battles were yet to come. He turned his attention from industrial microbes to the ones that cause disease in animals and humans. He made a conceptual leap of pure genius. If germs cause disease, then a weakened or attenuated version of that same germ could perhaps trigger the body's defenses without causing the disease itself. This was the birth of the modern vaccine. He proved his theory in a dramatic public experiment, vaccinating sheep against the deadly disease anthrax. The vaccinated sheep lived, the unvaccinated died. It was a stunning victory. The success of the anthrax vaccine was a national event. It didn't just save sheep, it saved a huge part of the French agricultural economy. Farmers, who had been losing their flocks to the disease, now saw Pasteur as a national hero. His fame exploded, and the germ theory was no longer just a controversial idea from a chemist. It was a proven, practical tool that had a tangible impact on the nation's prosperity. This victory gave him the public support and credibility he needed for his most audacious battle yet. Then came the ultimate test. In 1885, a young boy named Joseph Meister was brought to his laboratory. He had been brutally mauled by a rabid dog, bitten 14 times. In the 19th century, a bite from a rabid animal was a death sentence. The boy's mother begged Pasteur to try his new experimental rabies vaccine, a vaccine that had, until then, only been tested on dogs. Pasteur was not a medical doctor and could have been imprisoned for treating a human patient. The risk was immense, but faced with the boy's certain death, he took the gamble. Over a series of days, he administered 13 increasingly virulent injections of the vaccine. The world watched. The boy, Joseph Meister, never developed rabies. He lived. Pasteur was no longer a controversial chemist. He was a global hero. The legacy of Pasteur's code is the modern world itself. His germ theory is the foundation upon which all of modern medicine is built. Joseph Lister, inspired by Pasteur's work, pioneered antiseptic surgery, transforming operating rooms from houses of death into places of healing. Public sanitation systems, clean water, and food safety standards are all the direct result of our understanding of the invisible world he revealed. Before Pasteur, the average human lifespan was around 40 years. Today, it has nearly doubled. We live in a world largely free from the terror of the invisible monsters because one man had the genius to see them, the courage to fight them, and the brilliance to give us the weapons to win. And that is the architecture of the Code of Louis Pasteur. Remember, history is more than a story. It's a code, and there is always another layer to decrypt. Subscribe and continue the investigation with us.